December 1st, 2017.
And this is Nerd Bourbon episode 26. I'm Seth Sturgill.
And I'm Todd Sturgill, and what the fuck, man?
What?
No character this week?
Oh, no. It's like the skateboard thing. I don't need a character every single week, Todd. I'm sorry. Some mornings I wake up, some crisp November mornings when we record this podcast, I wake up and I look in the mirror and I'm happy with what I see. Is that okay with you?
No.
Is it okay with you if I am Seth Sturgill for once in my goddamn life? No, I'm just kidding.
No. You've disappointed me. I've grown accustomed to just having like a shitty like reaction like, come on, man, what the fuck?
Well, you know what? I was accustomed to Skate 4 every week too, but you let me down on that. You let us all down on that.
I deserve that.
Todd, this is going to be an interesting episode. So, I approached Todd this week. We were coming up with topics, and Todd was a very good boy. He had a topic all planned out, and actually a pretty decent topic, and we may address that topic in one of our near future episodes. But I was sitting on my couch talking to Todd on Skype, and, I was a little loopy. I was a little tired. Didn't really feel like coming up with a topic. I'll own up to it. And I was like, Todd, why don't we just let's do something experimental and meta. Oh, it's gonna be so great. It's gonna be so innovative. No topics this week. Let's just talk. Let's just talk about shit. Just random shit. It's the show. It's the Seinfeld approach. It's the show about nothing. And let's just see how it goes. This is actually a very valorous interlude here. We're actually going to this is going to be a unique meta take on this podcast.
It's the truest form of Nerd Bourbon, the truest form of the garbage truck on fire.
It's really just laziness. But
oh, I know. I accepted it, and when you were just like, let's just do no topic this week, and I'm just like, okay, fuck it.
I just kind of, I just sort of threw that out into the water and wanted to see if the shark would accept it, and you did. So this week we're just gonna kind of go this week, and we're gonna see where we land. We're just gonna fling our shit into the air and see how close to the bullseye we make it. So
we're gonna completely miss the bullseye, but let's do.
We always do. Professional bullseye missers, but you know what we are? We are Maker's Mark ambassadors. The both of us. Oh
yes. So my thing with this, I didn't know what the hell was going on. I thought I got hacked.
You just got like a random rogue email, right?
Yeah, I got a random rogue email. I did not know that my mother signed me up for this as like kind of like a Christmas present.
As a Christmas present? That shit's free.
I don't know. I was like, I don't know why she did it. She's like, she's all about my mother is all about the free shit.
She is a creature unlike any in that regard. Like I've never met anybody who is so into like the couponing and the free stuff and stuff like that.
She didn't used to. She wasn't always like this. It was after she retired. She hasn't worked for like 3-4 years.
Right.
So I think this is her job now.
Right, yeah. Well, and to be fair, she's like a fucking hawk. She is a bargain hawk. She like finds this shit and just scopes it out. And like, I'm telling you, I get random texts or whatever from your mom all the time, just saying like, hey, you can get this free thing right now. She sent me like 4 free cookbooks for my Instant Pot, and I'm like, awesome.
That's it. That's how she is.
She's finds like free pizza, just like she's just like, oh yeah, so there's this thing where like you message this thing on Twitter and you just get free pizza.
Yeah, it's okay. Was it Go Fuji or whatever, and like she's all up on that.
It's like I've never seen anything like it. It's extremely impressive. And I envy it.
It gets a little annoying after a while.
But whatever the case may be, she discovered that, knowing that, as is our podcast namesake, bourbon drinkers. And I think I introduced you to Maker's Mark, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
So Maker's Mark has long been my favorite sort of cheap bourbon. It's the first bourbon I ever had, the first kind of bourbon whiskey experience I ever had, and just a very good, smooth, got a nice little like kind of spiced note to it. Just a solid bourbon that you can get for like less than $20 a bottle, and it's just good. Like, it's just comfort bourbon to me. Like, it's just whenever I always have a bottle of Maker's Mark in my pantry at home. Like, there's just always a bottle there. It's just kind of like it's the constant, like it's that thing in Lost where they have the constants. Maker's Mark is my constant. So
that's kind of how I feel with Maker's 46 now.
Maker's 46 is good. It's but when I want just a quick fix, if I'm at a bar, I know they have Maker's Mark. Like, they might not have some of the like sort of specialty bourbons that I enjoy and that I like to drink, but they have got to have Maker's Mark. So we're big Maker's Mark fans. Actually, I'll give you a pro tip. They sell a Maker's Mark cigar that you can buy online that is also very good. Now, I don't smoke, but once or twice a year, I will enjoy a cigar as a man of leisure.
I respect it.
And Maker's Mark cigars are very tasty. Anyway, that's a lot of preamble just to say that I woke up to this message from your mom saying, telling me about the Maker's Mark Ambassador program, and I had never heard of it before. I'm not the type of person that, like, no matter how much I enjoy a product, I never like visit the product's website just for no reason, Like, I love Maker's Mark, but I've never thought to go to like makersmark.com, like that's just not my thing. But the Maker's Mark Ambassador program, as it turns out, is a free program wherein a few things happen. There's a whole sign-up process. You give them your address and stuff like that. You give them, your name and birth date, and they stamp your name along, other ambassadors who are kind of roped into this predetermined barrel of Maker's Mark. And they stamp you and others' names onto this barrel, and it ages. At the end of the aging process, which I think for Maker's Mark is like 3 or 4 years, if that. And they give you the opportunity to buy a bottle of Maker's Mark, a custom bottle of Maker's Mark, from the barrel that your name is on, which is cool. And you can actually, when it's shipped to you, it will have a custom nameplate engraving with whatever you want. So, of course, mine, when I buy my bottle in a few years, is going to say Nerd Bourbon. And there are a few other opportunities that being a Maker's Mark ambassador affords you. So if you find yourself in the distillery in Kentucky, which I would love to make a pilgrimage out there. We have family in Kentucky, so I would love to, within the next few years, actually take a visit to the distillery. And if you show them your ambassador card, which you and I will be receiving in the mail within the next several weeks, if you show them your card, you are afforded a free tour of the distillery, and you are allowed to hand dip your own bottle of bourbon. One thing that a lot of people don't know is that Maker's Mark has the most inefficient bottling process in the world, and they take this as a point of pride, because Maker's Mark sort of its signature trait is that seal, that wax seal over the top, that drip of red wax, and every single Maker's Mark bottle is hand dipped, every single one of them. It is not done by a machine. They are all dipped into wax with a person's human hands, and hand dipped. And so you have the opportunity to hand dip your own bottle of Maker's Mark, which is really cool. And I don't know, I just it's a really neat, like, free, totally free service that this bourbon company provides, and I thought it was cool. Like,
I'm down for it. And you did the A1 shit of you're gonna be able to get like that Nerd Bourbon engraved on it.
I had to. As soon as the opportunity presented itself, I had to have a Nerd Bourbon bottle of Maker's Mark.
See, I feel like I would have did the same thing if I actually did it myself, but I woke up to it and it was already done for me. So I was like, all right, cool.
Right. Well, yeah, and in fact, when my fiance was designing the banner that we use on like Twitter and Facebook and YouTube. The bottle of quote unquote nerd bourbon is indeed modeled after a bottle of Maker's Mark. So very Maker's Mark is very sort of at the heart of this podcast and at the heart of my lifetime of drinking. So it's cool. We're pretty much this episode's gonna be super weird. I don't know how long it's gonna be. I pretty much just gathered a bunch of stuff that I have sort of I'm a weird peruser of the internet in that I just find random shit, and like I just kind of as I went through my week this week, I just sort of collected all the random things that I stumbled upon on the internet, and I was like, let's see where this goes. So we're just going to kind of go through it. Now, before I go further, though, you and I watched a movie together last night. Which we sometimes do. And it is not a new movie, so it would not be appropriate for us to do like an episode of Shots about it. But I would like to sort of give our thoughts on this movie. It's called Valerian, and I think it's called The City of a Thousand Planets. Is that the subtitle?
Yeah, it's Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets.
How'd you feel about it?
All right, so I'm pretty sure we feel the same way about it. It's not a bad movie. It's not a good movie, but good Lord, is it a beautiful movie?
Yeah, the art. I mean, the quality of the art in that movie is like on another level. It is like so high. Like, I actually immediately after watching it, I looked up the art book for Valerian on Amazon. And it immediately was added to my wish list. Like, I need that art book in my life. Because again, the art, it's just something to look at. Like, visually, that movie is really something to behold. And, it's from the director, Luc Besson, the director of Fifth Element. And I was pointing this out to you because I'm a huge Fifth Element fan. Like, this movie shares so much in common with Fifth Element in a lot of good ways, but I think the thing that Fifth Element has over it is just a more solid narrative structure. Like Valerian, the actual plot of Valerian is pretty caca.
That's a good way of putting it.
Let's be real. Like the actual plot is very sort of like kind of generic, and like it's kind of hard to follow, and it's hard to follow not because it's complex. It's hard to follow because it's so uncomplex. Like, it's really just a mishmash of situations.
Yeah, a mishmash of just random shit going on.
With an overarching plot to tie them together, but it's just very, like, it's threadbare. We'll be honest, like you're there for the visuals, and it delivers on that front.
Mm-hmm.
And, one of my biggest problems with it, though, is I don't really like the main cast. Like, I feel like the characters of the two main characters, Valerian and Laureline, were like totally miscast. Because like I love Dane DeHaan, like I love him in almost everything. Like, but I even said this to you while we were watching it. I was like, this guy Dane DeHaan should like never play a good guy.
He needs to only be a villain. Yeah, that's what you're saying.
Like he's such a good like villainous sort of character, and I love him in that sort of role. He's not good at playing that sort of like Nathan Drake kind of like stumbling through situations, roguish kind of devil may care type. He's not very good at that, I don't think. And Cara Delevingne or whatever the fuck her name is, how you pronounce her name. Like, I'd never really like her. Like, I think she's very pretty. She's a model and stuff, but I don't think she's a super great actress. I don't know. Just the whole plot sort of fell apart, but it's a very, very pretty movie. If you are an appreciator of like art and science fiction visuals, it is unparalleled in the actual craft. Like, as a movie, it kind of sucks, but as a piece of art to just look at, just like a visual novel, it is very, very, very worth it. There are things that happen in this movie, like there's a moment where, as you said, Valerian puts on this like suit, and you're like, is he about to go Juggernaut in this bitch? And he does. And what you mean by that when you said that was he is going to charge through walls in this city called Alpha, I think.
Yeah, it's so the deal is it was originally like the space station, and it just it's called Alpha now, and it's just like
over the course of hundreds of years, like a lot of handshaking was done between human colonies and alien colonies, and so now the Alpha space station has become a city of 1,000 planets. It has become like sort of a safe harbor for all of these alien species, and so
I think they say in the movie like over like 800 or some shit.
Yeah, there's just a shit ton of there's like a shit ton of different little pockets of this city, and so this moment that I'm referring to, he juggernauts this shit. He starts charging through these walls, and every wall that he passes is just a rapid fire of entirely different, interesting science fiction locales. Mm-hmm. Like it's like the scene lasts maybe 10 seconds, but like in that 10 seconds, your senses are just like bombarded with like, oh, he charged this wall, bam, he's in this like pure white, like kind of like interesting sci-fi location, boom, he's in this sort of like jellyfish underwater thing, boom, there's like these glowing mushrooms, and then like finally he ends up with like this alien like child that shoots him with goo, and it's just really cool. It's a very cool movie visually. So
well, the one thing that I came out of the movie, I was like, dude, what the hell was the budget on this movie? Like, I feel like this movie, like, kind of fucking shot itself in the foot with, like, the budget.
Yeah, I think it did end up turning a profit, but
it did it or no?
I think it did, but not enough of one to be considered a success.
Yeah, because I was like, dear Lord, they kind of like put themselves back with like trying to make a profit type shit.
Yeah, but anyway.
It's impressive as hell, though.
Yeah, if you want to see something that is visually exciting, I recommend Valerian. Just don't even try. I think you're better served if you don't even try to follow the plot at all. Just
turn your brain off and just enjoy the show. Just enjoy like all the. It's such a pretty movie, man.
Yeah, I love the visuals of that movie. I want to shake it up a little bit. The next talking point that I want to bring up, I want you to tell the story of our granny and the possum.
Okay, so this is so my grandmother has a bit of a pet project in Kentucky. She takes care of an older woman in her town, and you know, keeps her busy and all that. And I'm not gonna say any names, even though we kind of should, because I don't think it's her actual name. It's what she goes by, Omi.
Omelia.
That's what I'm going with. That's the name I'm going with. But so she takes care of this older woman. She goes over there, like helps clean up, you know, make sure she's surviving, because surviving is what this woman does. And this woman, she fell and like hurt herself, and to the point where like our grandmother has to like stay the night. I don't know if she's doing it now, but she has been staying the night over there.
She was for some time.
And so she wakes up in the middle of the night. She hears rummaging, you know, just rummaging going around in this house. And that's not probably that's probably an unusual occurrence in this, because there's like a bunch of animals that live in this house. Not the prettiest looking animals, but animals. All these dogs and cats or whatever, they all have mange.
Oh, I was wondering what you were referring to. I thought you were talking about more wild animals. I was like, what?
No. I'm talking about these dogs. These dogs mangy. All have like, they're all mangy, man. It's all bad. Like one of them look like you don't even have fur.
Oh no.
It's bad. It's all bad. It honestly depresses me. I went into this house once, and never again. Oof. Honestly, the stench will singe your nose hairs right off.
God, I almost feel bad for her, because you know she can't.
I mean, she has a lot of stuff going on with her like family, but that's beyond the point. So here we go. Let's get back to this possum. She goes out to explore. I don't even think she turns the light on. I think she has like a flashlight or something, and she has a broom. She flashes the light at where the noise is, and it's just this fucking opossum sitting there eating a loaf of bread, just chilling there. Just chilling there.
That's the thing about the possum too, is they just don't give a fuck, dude.
And it kind of just looking at her, looking at Granny. It's just like kind of frozen a little bit, just looking at her.
Did it hiss?
I don't know if it did. I don't remember if they told me that. But what happens is My grandmother goes, I imagine it so, because it's funny as shit to me just to imagine our grandmother, because she's such a small woman.
Yeah.
She legit she hit it right in the fucking head with the broom handle. Just ah! And from what I understand, it ends up basically going into a Mufasa hanging on the edge of this counter, just like
Granny just looks over and Granny's just like, "Long live the king."
But here's the deal: like it drops. The thing is, she doesn't finish the job. She just goes back to sleep.
She's like, "Tell your friends."
Yeah, basically, there's still. I don't even know. I don't know if it's come back. I don't know if it's. I think it might be still a thing.
Wow.
I'm gonna have to come back later on in the near future and
Give
revisit
us a possum update.
Possum update. That's the new Destiny update.
Possum update. Do. I'll go tit for tat with you on that possum story with a possum story of my own.
Oh, you have your own. Beautiful.
I do. You may or may not know about this story. I don't know, but living in the the murky swamps of Louisiana, possums are a natural occurrence. Possums are just a thing down here. You don't see them often, but you're more likely to see a possum here than you are, say, up north.
Oh, definitely.
Now, it was a rainy night. I was at work, and I just get a call from my now fiance, girlfriend at the time. We were living with my parents at the time. This is years ago, probably like 4 years ago at least.
I feel like I might know the story, but continue.
Yeah, so she gives me a call at work, and she's just bawling, just crying. And she's like, I can't even understand her. She's crying so much. She's like, there was a, and it hits at me, and I'm like, hey, slow down. So I can't even understand what you're saying right now. And like, and finally she sort of collects herself and she goes, there's a fucking possum in the house, a fucking possum. And I was like, where? She's like, it's in Herbie's food. And what had happened was we used to keep her food, in our bedroom, and we would just kind of keep an open bag of food in there and just kind of dip the bowl in whenever we needed to fill her food bowl, and that was all there was to it. Now, another thing to note is that at the time my parents had a cat who was sort of a black and white cat, a total asshole, and is no longer with us. The cat's name was Pretty Pretty Princess My Little Pony Dog.
What?
The cat, I'll repeat that. The cat's name was Pretty Pretty Princess My Little Pony Dog.
Who the fuck named that?
My siblings.
All right, then. Let's forget about the name and continue.
Anyway, and we ended up, what's funny is when they first got that cat, they thought it was a girl, and then later learned that it was a boy, so the name was sort of shortened to Prince.
So, I'd be angry too. I'd be an asshole.
Yeah, so he was a total asshole, and perhaps with good reason. So the reason I bring up that cat is because in a dark, stormy night, when you're just opening the door of your room and you see a black and white thing go by, you might think it's a cat, and it's in actuality a possum. So what happened was this possum must have come into our house looking for shelter from the rain. And Anastasia, my fiance, sort of opened the door in a haze of sleep. She was sleeping. It was like, 1 o'clock in the morning or something like that. She opens the door and lets this possum in because in the haze of sleep at a glance, she thought it was the cat. So the possum runs into our room. Bear in mind, we have several dogs that were trying to get it the entire time, and she just was like, oh, why are the dogs fucking with the cat so much, Anyway, flash forward to the following night. This is the night that she discovered it and called me. She goes in and hears crunching inside of the bag of food. She just hears like just and it actually wakes her up. The crunching is so loud. And she goes and looks in there, and, she sees the sort of back of the possum, and she thinks it's the cat. Hey there, sorry to interrupt this riveting tale of possums. I hope you're enjoying. This is future Seth coming at you from the Nerd Bourbon editing room, editing this episode, and I have come to realize that the sound that I'm about to make, the sound that you're about to hear, it's like a hissing sound that I'm using to describe how mean this possum was to my fiance, and it is very abrasive if you are a listener using headphones. I'm just giving you a fair warning. You're about to hear a loud noise. So I just wanted to kind of give a brief kind of interjection to let you know, loud noise warning. So if you're a headphone wearer, be prepared. With that, I hope you enjoy the rest of the podcast. She's like, oh, God damn it, Prince. And she goes to reach it, and the possum turns its head. you know. And she fucking lost her mind, obviously, you know.
Oh, I believe it. She legit lost her shit.
And so then that's when she called me and everything, and I couldn't like leave work to deal with the possums. I was like, all I can tell you is to tie up the bag and leave it there, and I can deal with it when I get home, I guess. So she tied up the bag. She could not go back to sleep just knowing that the possum was in there. So what she ended up doing was she tied the bag with sort of a loose knot, took a broom, and used it to push the bag outside.
Oh, for a second I thought she was going to kill it.
No.
Beat the shit out of the bag. I was like, oh, God.
No, she doesn't have that in her. She pushes it outside with the broom onto sort of the into the sort of backyard, and of course the dogs are like sniffing it and trying to get at it and stuff like that. And she was just kind of like, she wasn't going to kill it. She wanted to let it free, but she was like, I have the bag of food is out here. I'm going to undo the loose knot that I've made and, you know, go back inside, and whatever happens to you, basically. I hope you get out, basically. And, you know, nothing happened for a while. We discovered the next morning, though, a bunch of pieces of what used to be a possum in the yard.
So the dogs got it.
The dogs got it, yeah. The dogs ended up getting it, and so yeah, that happened, and now everybody sort of calls her the possum killer or whatever. Or like if we have an issue with a possum, we'll call you type thing.
You know,
So-
next time we play Overwatch, I'm gonna call her that.
She'll know what you're talking about. I mean, I was like, because I came home expecting to have to deal with a possum, you know?
You know, here's the deal. I actually didn't know it ended up being killed. You did tell me the story, but only the part with the bag.
It didn't get far. Like we had you know, a fucking American bulldog who's just like pure muscle, and then at the time we had another dog who was, you know, very like alpha male type dog, and like they both I'm sure just tore it to shreds. And then they have
Rest in peace.
Yeah, they also have a boxer. So I'm sure between the three of those dogs and another cat, like the possum just didn't stand a chance. So it fucked up by coming into our house, in other words. So leading off of that into another completely different realm, when I sent you the show notes for this, such as they are, the show notes this week really can only be described as the scrawlings of a lazy madman.
Yeah, it's a bunch of bullet points of just random bullshit.
And something stood out to you, did it not?
I don't like. It's the one bullet point that just really it leaves me uneasy. I just don't like it. I don't like any aspect of it. It is the chain pub piss dungeon. I don't like it. And the thing is, now I'm gonna have to find out what it is.
I'm going to tell you what it is. So this story is several years old. This was sort of one of those
one that I do not know.
I don't think you know this.
Oh,
This
no,
is not
alright.
something that happened in my personal life. Just so we're absolutely clear.
Thank God.
This is an article that sort of made the rounds. Sort of 4 or 5 years. Yeah, this thing was published in March of 2012. So this article is old. This may be old news to some listeners, but if anybody's listening to this and does not know about this, I'm about to ruin your day. This is a Vice article by Robert K. And it's a story. The headline is "Deep Inside the Chain Pub Piss Dungeon." a true story of sexual deviance in London that will turn you off of urinals forever. And I was reminded of this.
I don't think I was ever turned on to urinals.
Yeah, I wasn't just like, I didn't like love urinals. You're not about to like just ruin my shit. But so I rediscovered this article sort of as one of those on this day Facebook things, you know, where you look at that shit. God, I love that shit. Don't you? Where you just look at that and then you just delete your bad memories.
I have legitimately, anytime I have a memory, I have deleted it. Like, it's going to get to the point when people are scrolling on Facebook and it is going to be nothing that I've posted personally.
What a funny, like, cyberpunk thing that is. When you think about it, just take the sentences that we just spoke out of context and show it to somebody like 20 years ago. Just, oh, don't you love that on this day functionality where you can delete your bad memories? That's like the most Blade Runner
I could
shit.
Delete my actual bad memories.
That's some real shit right there. Have you seen Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind? You don't want to do that. Anyway, so this article, I posted it and it showed up on my On This Day, and so that's what brings us here. I'm going to read this article to you. It isn't a very long one, but we're going to go on this journey together.
I don't want to, but go ahead.
Buckle up. Ever hear the story about the girl who sleeps with some dude and ends up getting some weird flesh-eating disease that the doctor tells her can only be contracted through sex with a corpse? Every once in a while, hang on, I just got to pump the brakes already. What an incredible opening sentence to this article. Weird.
I don't like it.
Ever heard the story about the girl who sleeps with some dude and ends up getting some weird flesh-eating disease that the doctor tells her?
I've heard this. Is you find out the guy's he works at the funeral home or some shit.
Right. Every once in a while, the article continues, you hear a story of human sexual deviance so extremely left of center that it literally blows your mind. It's even more disturbing when you're there at the source and can see the corroborating evidence for yourself.
Oh, God.
One of my best buds from Southend is the manager of a chain pub in central London. A few weeks ago, he was standing behind the bar when a guy came up to him looking rather concerned. And the guy goes, and I'm not going to do a British accent, but the guy goes, "Listen, mate, this is going to sound totally insane, but I've just gone for a piss in the urinal, and I could have sworn I saw an eyeball looking up from the hole."
Oh, fuck no, dude.
How would you react if you saw an eyeball looking up from the hole in the urinal? Now, this guy's at the bar, so
my heart would my heart would fucking stop for a second and be like, "What the fuck?"
So this guy's at the bar, so he's probably had a few, you know. So maybe he's just like a drunk madman or something, but I'm sorry, my friend replies. Not just an eyeball, but like an eyebrow as well, and the eye was looking around. So the guy convinces my friend to have a look and put his mind at ease. They both went to the bathroom to check on the two adjoining rooms. As they go through the first door, they discover that the place is pretty much flooded with urine. My mate comments to the guy that this obviously is not normal, and the article, I'll link to the article in the description. The article, in addition to having appropriate pictures of lemonade, has pictures of this piss dungeon, and it's not pretty. It's not pretty at all.
I don't even want to look at it. I don't plan on looking at it.
Things get stranger still when they get to the door to the second back room, which is a fire exit and should be unlocked. It isn't. My friend gets his keys out to unlock the door, and as he begins to do so, a frantic scuffle begins behind the door.
Oh, God.
The fire escape, the fire exit, not supposed to be locked, and it's locked. And when you go to unlock it, you just feel like, oh shit. As he attempts to push it open, the handle is ripped out of his hand, and a dude comes charging out of the room, soaked head to toe in piss. He pushes both my friend and the customer, who are too shocked to react, out of the way, screaming, "I didn't do anything!" as he ran away. So you get this locked fire exit door open, and before you have a chance to react, a guy, naked and covered in piss, pushes out the door and screams, "I didn't do anything."
I mean, technically he didn't. I think all he did was bathing in the piss.
So, I mean, just put yourself in that scenario.
I'm trying not to. I'm just kind of sitting there, I'm sitting here just kind of like contemplating my existence right now.
By the time they regain their sense of reality, the guy has made his escape, leaving them to assess the scene of abject depravity he's left in his wake.
Oh, God.
And there are more pictures. Oh, God, there are more pictures. The plumbing for the urinal had been carefully removed and put to one side, leaving a hole in the masonry big enough for a head and shoulders to squeeze in. Tissue paper had been laid on the exposed brickwork to provide a comfortable headrest for what seemed to be a lengthy session of being pissed on. By men, in secret, in a toilet belonging to pretty much the biggest chain pub in Britain. Oh, and did I mention the snorkel? I need your reaction to that one. The dude's got a snorkel.
Oh!
The police are called. Forensics scour the scene, but no fingerprints can be found, owing to the copious amounts of wee on every single surface.
Fuck.
This is so drenched in piss that no fingerprints can be lifted from the scene. I mean, god damn it. I was told this story while incredibly stoned. I was utterly incredulous. I was even more incredulous when he showed me the pictures of this makeshift piss dungeon on his phone, taken moments after the incident. He said he was pretty disturbed by the fact that he had seen this utterly normal-looking middle-aged man at his lowest ebb. He had obviously done a... Oh, I don't know this. I don't know this word. I'm assuming it's...
a word you don't know? It's amazing.
Yeah, I know most words, but recé, I guess? He had obviously done a recé, I guess, on the place and put a fair amount of planning into finding and locking himself into this room. All without arousing the suspicions of staffs or punters before it was way too late. There you go, then. Next time you go for a pee in a urinal, or anywhere for that matter, just remember, someone could be mere feet away, bathing in your fluids.
I don't like this at all. Like, this is without a... Like, you see, all right. Humans are disgusting people. Human nature is disgusting, all right? A part of me should be surprised to read this, or to even hear it, but honestly, I'm not.
The only thing I'm surprised about is that this was in London and not, like, Chicago.
Oh, God. I don't even want to know the shit that goes on over where I live.
Todd, you ever just... You mean to tell me that you don't ever just piss onto a big heap of toilet paper and then drain it with your mouth like some sort of piss vampire? You mean to tell me that?
Yeah, I don't do that.
Just sink your teeth into that piss-soaked toilet paper mound?
Oh, God.
Oh, God. So, yeah, I that needed to be shared with you.
It didn't need to be shared.
Oh, no, it did.
Stayed. It could have stayed deep in the... Yeah, let's continue.
I'm going to continue on with sort of the last big thing that I wanted to talk to you about this week, Todd. I teased you with this one a little bit because I don't think you're ready. I was scrolling through Facebook, as I do, in a very kingly fashion. I was scrolling through Facebook. A friend of mine who lives and works as a bartender in New Orleans posted a performance by a band that I had never heard of that is happening in March of next year. And the band's name very much intrigued me, and it led me down the rabbit hole of research with them. The band's name is Mac Sabbath. And Mac Sabbath is a Black Sabbath parody band comprised of McDonald's characters.
What?
So, and they have, and all of their songs and imagery and stuff is centered around fast food. So, I'm on Mac Sabbath.
My attention.
I'm on Mac Sabbath's website, and I encourage you to pull this up as well. It's officialmacsabbath.com. And this website details has several very good pictures of these characters and their lineup. On the front page here, it says, "We are Max Sabbath, based out of Los Angeles, California, but born from the bowels of outer space. Max Sabbath is here, and it is time for a dinner rock revolution." And the lineup is detailed here. Vocals, Ronald Osborne. Guitar, Slayer McCheese.
Oh, God.
Bass, Grim Alice. Drums, The Cat Burglar.
I hate this, but I love it.
And if you listen to their shows, it is so, like, the lead singer has kind of like this Australian sort of tinge to him. Like, he doesn't seem to really even be, like, trying. And this band has a funny sort of like their track lists are great, and I love the sort of mythology to the band and everything.
I might have to check it out after we're done recording.
I may have to try to like put a little bit of Max Sabbath at the end of this maybe. But so like they have instead of their parody of Paranoid is Parabuns. Iron Man
that's not even like creative.
It's not. Iron Man is Frying Pan. Sweet Leaf is Sweet Beef. Never Say Die is Never Say Diet.
I respect that one.
Symptom of the Universe is Zipping Up the Uniform. And I'm reading from the Wikipedia page now. Although all of the band's lyrics focus on the umbrella topic of fast food, Max Sabbath takes a decidedly satirical and condemnatory perspective on the corporate fast food industry, addressing areas such as fast food's negative health effects and lack of nutritional value, as well as genetically modified food, consumerism, and low-wage McJobs. Now, here's another sort of wrinkle to this. I did not realize that McJob was like an actual term. I had our friend Dan, who we've mentioned a few times on this podcast, worked at McDonald's for a time. And he always referred to it as his McJob. And I just thought he was just being funny. Is that an actual term? It's an actual term with a Wikipedia entry. McJob is slang for a low-paying, low-prestige, dead-end job that requires few skills and offers very little chance of intra-company advancement. So, that's what McJob means. And it's funny because he used to tell me that like it made him feel like shit because McDonald's actually kind of pays their employees pretty well now and actually has several good like benefits for employees. And it's one of the biggest companies in the country. But I just remember him saying, like, it made him feel like shit. He would go to watch, like, Wolf of Wall Street, and Leonardo DiCaprio gives this rousing speech. He's like, if you don't want to work here, go get a fucking job at McDonald's, like a piece of McDonald's shit, basically. So he's like, oh, God. I'm going to continue reading from Max Sabbath's Wikipedia page here. Max Sabbath is visually inspired by characters from McDonaldland, the fantasy food world, which fast food restaurants McDonald's use in its marketing campaigns geared towards children. Now, are you familiar with McDonaldland?
No. What the fuck is this world that I'm living?
Oh, my God. I'm going... Oh, Todd, let me just... So this was a huge thing for me when I was a kid. Like, McDonald's had, like, VHS tapes that you could get. Because I ate a lot of McDonald's when I was a kid. And like, McDonald's had, like, its own sort of, like, TV show. And Ronald McDonald slept in like a hamburger bed. And
this sounds like a fucking just a shitty dream.
Oh, it's like this weird, fucked up like fast food fever dream. It's so weird, like it's crazy. I remember the characters on the marketing. Some of them appeared in the show, and some of them didn't. There was like the fucking Fry Kids, who are these little like mischievous kids that were like trying to steal people's fries and shit. They were all like they were parents like they in McDonald's commercials and stuff. That's where the character of like Mayor McCheese comes from. There was Officer Big Mac, Uncle O'Grimacy. I'm seeing here, who was created to ring in the Shamrock Shake. There's some good shit in here. There's some good shit. But I remember...
I don't know about good shit.
It's good shit. So, but these, Black Sabbath, visually inspired by characters from McDonaldland. The band's lineup, as I've already said, consists of vocalist Ronald Osborne, guitarist Slayer McCheese, bassist Grimalis, and drummer The Cat Burglar, alternatively known as Peter Chris Cut Fries. I love it. Max Sabbath's concerts are described as a multimedia show with video, theatrics, audience participation, and sing-alongs, featuring an array of food-related props which tie into their overall theme. The Village Voice, describing the surreal and chaotic nature of their shows, wrote of red-eyed, demonic-looking clown statues, inflatable cheeseburgers, and oversized prop ketchup and mustard bottles, noting the blazing primary colors and infernal special effects make the whole thing feel like Hieronymus Bosch's My Little Pony. And so if I can get to this show next year, I'm absolutely going, by the way. Not because I think it's great, but I have to see that. I fucking have to see that. Like,
how ridiculous it is.
And if you go and you look at their merch, I feel a mighty need, Todd, to buy every single one of these shirts. Because
I didn't even look at that.
I'm going to have to link to Max Sabbath's website as well, because it is highly, highly good. Like, they have like an Etsy storefront, and it is so...
Oh, shit. I'm kind of digging these shirts.
Dude, it's good. It's just good fucking content.
I respect their logo.
It's good, dude. I got it. Like, I got to get in on it. I feel like I've discovered like this whole new world. And if you go and listen to their music, it's like whatever. It's neither here nor there. But I'm just enthralled in the whole in the proceedings here. Man, it's good. Man, it's good. Do you understand now why I kept this a secret from you for so long?
I guess. I mean, you could have told me.
It was worth keeping it a secret, though. That's the sweet release of finally learning of Max Sabbath was worth it.
I'm gonna have to check it out.
I wanted to briefly talk about let's talk about just real quick. So before we wrap this up, we talked last week, either last week or the week before, about Boston Dynamics. And
you mean the people that are going to bring down this earth, bring down this world?
Yes, the architects of our destruction, Boston Dynamics. They have released a couple of new videos, and what's funny is one of these new videos actually released the day after the episode that we talked about Boston Dynamics premiered.
They're waiting,
which leads me to believe that they have some sort of algorithm that determines when a podcast brings them up and is like, oh, have we not provided sufficient fear for you? have we not been good enough robot fear merchants? So they released these videos, and they've since released 2 videos. Bear in mind, Boston Dynamics never releases videos, right? Like, their video release history, there's like year-long gaps between them. And like the day after we talk about them, they pop up. Shit's crazy. Anyway.
It's an omen.
One of which is they're both very brief videos. One of them is showing off the redesign of the Spot Mini. Have you watched both of these videos?
I've seen bits and pieces of the Spot Mini one, I think.
Bits and pieces? It's like 10 seconds long.
Well, I saw a GIF, so I guess I saw all of it.
Yeah, probably so. It's literally just a video of the Spot Mini walking up to the camera, and it's so, like, they have really just fine-tuned the animation of this thing, just the range of movement that it has, because it's sort of like, it sort of sways into the camera in a way that just looks unnatural. Like, it looks like, if I showed you that clip out of context, you would be like, oh, is this like a demo reel for Half-Life 3 or something? Like, like it looks like a fucking combine weapon or something. Like, it's so strange. But then the other one is a new piece of functionality that they have been working on adding to the Atlas robot. I think the video is titled "What's New, Atlas?" And he is now able to perform a series of jumps from far distances, like pretty far distances, and concludes the video with a full flip. Perfectly executed flip. And I have to imagine this is in response to the dream that I described where I was being chased by a robot across rooftops. because this motherfucker is just gonna like chase me down the rooftop and like jump from rooftop to rooftop and like end in like a flip flourish before stepping on my spine and just murdering me. They're horror. Boston Dynamics is an amazing YouTube account to follow if you aren't already.
They need to be shut down.
They really do. They need they need the advice of Jeff Goldblum, where it's like your scientists were so concerned with whether or not they could, they never stopped to think of whether they should.
It's like, didn't they ever see Terminator? Skynet?
This is Skynet. Boston Dynamics is the real world Skynet. It's going to be. I'm telling you. Like there are actually scientific studies dealing with robotics that have sort of concluded themselves for like moral and ethical reasons. And I'm like, how are you guys not taking a look at fucking Boston Dynamics? It's got to stop. We're all doomed.
You've heard it here first.
Yeah, exactly. You got anything else to say about this garbage episode before we wrap it on up, Todd?
I think it's time to wrap it up and take it out to the trash.
You've been listening to Nerd Bourbon. If you had a good time listening to us talk about robots and piss dungeons and possums and robots and Maker's Mark and Mac Sabbath, why don't you go ahead and throw us a follow or a sub on whatever service you're listening to us on, and heck, if there's a service we aren't currently on that you want us on, let me know so we can make that happen. If you have any questions, thoughts, comments, or concerns, please leave them. Leave me a Q and I will provide an A. You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/nerdbourbon, and we are at nerdbourbon on Twitter. Beyond that, the best and only way for us to grow is for you to tell your friends. Thank you guys so much for listening. Get fucking dunked on. We'll see you next week. Bye.
See ya.